Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Fran, I'm from Venezuela, and today we are going to be watching a video called Top 10 British TV Shows America is Obsessed With. So let's check it out and comment, like, subscribe, and start.
Turns out we're not the only ones hooked on these sublime series. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 British shows that America is obsessed with.
Okay, let's check it out.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
I love that the voice is British.
For this
obviously.
list, we've broken down the best of British programs
It's
that
the
have
best.
proven
Okay.
especially popular with North American audiences.
Okay.
From cult comedy to seminal sci-fi, it's
Everything.
all eyes on the UK.
Oh my god, that's what's that?
Number
what's
10,
that, a dragon?
Catastrophe.
No idea
The
what's
Americans
that.
got their first taste of this Britcom, albeit
Britcom.
one that was created by Irish actress Sharon Horgan and American comedian Rob Delaney on Amazon Prime.
So it's American slash Irish, so UK based, but there's an American found his way there.
I'm pregnant.
What is the show about?
Did you just say
It's
pregnant?
like a comedy with
Yeah,
drama.
I said pregnant. Do you want me to say it again?
This comedy series about a couple who barely know each other and fall
And she's-
pregnant together
oh, yeah. She
made
gets pregnant.
waves across the pond for all the same reasons that it's loved in the UK.
What is that?
Circumcised. Most American men are, I've heard.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's brash, bold, and it touches on topics that writers normally shy away from.
Oh my
It
God.
also helps that one of its leading characters is played by a US comic, and that it features Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, sure.
Number 9, Monty Python's Flying Circus.
No idea what's that.
And now for
It's
something
old.
completely different.
Name? What?
Your name, please, your name.
David.
David. Sure?
It's a comedy, I think.
David. Sure.
No, Thomas.
This comically risque series became popular in America
Comically
back
risque.
in 1974 when a PBS station in Dallas began transmitting it, giving the Pythons
So
an
old.
unlikely foothold in the country.
Now, how do you plead?
We're innocent.
What? They both laugh. Okay.
Having once been labelled as a bizarre, unpredictable show,
Bizarre?
it's surprising
It's
just
weird.
how well America took to it. Turns out its kooky, silly nature was what appealed most, though.
It's
And
sketches,
with
it's
the
like
release of
SNL.
their trio of feature films, the only way
That
was
was-
up for the Monty Python team.
That's a weird thing.
Is a late tenant!
But in context, it
Number
makes
8,
sense.
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders.
This period crime drama set in 1920s Birmingham has well and truly taken America
Birmingham,
by
that's,
storm. And is it any wonder? Our
England?
cousins across the pond are certainly used to some good
Okay.
crime-based telly, and this show,
Yeah,
with its
like
stellar
Mob.
cast, stunning sets, brilliant costumes, and engaging plot lines, doesn't disappoint.
Who doesn't love it?
With Cillian Murphy at the helm, plus a key role
like
for
a
Tom Hardy.
vintage sort of look. Everything looks very beautiful, but also it looks like I think it's similar to the time period that I think is based on. Like it looks to be like I don't know 1930s maybe, and everything looks very beautiful, very vintage. And I think like those shows are great. I can see why it's so popular.
Expectations were obviously high all around the world, but Peaky
Super
Blinders
high.
definitely delivers regardless of which side of the Atlantic you're on.
I bet.
Since it's a very valuable thing, in it, my friend. Usually it comes far too f***ing late.
Number 7, Merlin.
Merlin.
This
No
fantasy
idea what's
drama
that.
was
Oh,
one
it's
of
a
the
dragon.
first British programs to be shown on network television in the United States, when NBC began transmitting the
castle?
series in June 2009. So it's fair to say that Merlin was a pretty big achievement in the small screen
What
world.
is it about? It looks to be like mystical, fantasy-based show. Merlin
The
as
show
in the
later
wizard.
relocated to Sci-Fi, a cable network, tapping into the same kind of audience that
It's
had
not a
already
dragon.
become addicted to things like Doctor Who. And
was a
in a
dragon,
time
but it
before the
isn't.
likes of Game of Thrones, you can see why it was so popular.
Your challenge. Last 1 minute. Free combat.
Yeah, it's sort of like
Herman,
fighting,
second son of Wessex.
fantasy.
King Arthur, wizards, and
it's
a
King
medieval
Arthur.
world. Oh yes, please.
Yeah,
Number 6, Luther.
Luther.
Unsurprisingly, the Brits aren't the only ones just slightly obsessed with Detective Chief Inspector John
Oh,
Luther
police-
and
a
his
police
work
drama.
in the Serious Crime Unit. Idris Elba is a well-known face on American screens,
Yes.
what with the popularity of the Baltimore-based The Wire. But Luther doesn't just rely on its celebrity lead actor.
I hope not.
Some brilliant storylines, well-rounded characters, and edge-of-your-seat style thrills are what makes this crime
so
series
these are
so
like
watchable, turning it into
detective
one of
drama.
the most binge-worthy entries on today's countdown.
You're John Luther who sees all, knows
Oh, John
all.
Luther, that's his name.
Come on, John.
Number 5, The Fall.
The Fall.
Maybe it
oh,
shouldn't
that's
be
another
too
detective
shocking
drama, I
that The
think.
Fall caught US attention. After all, two of its lead actors, Agent Scully herself, Gillian Anderson, and Jamie Dornan of 50 Shades fame, are both big Hollywood names. But if the star power is what brought the viewers through the door, it's the gritty nature of this show that kept them watching.
Yeah, that's
the central
scary.
chase to catch a serial killer isn't for the
So
faint-hearted.
scary.
Can you give me a couple more hours?
I don't know, Mum.
To catch
But
a
with
killer.
Anderson's brilliant
I'd be like, I need months. I don't know.
detective leading the way, this is one series that demands to be seen from dramatic beginning to the bitter end.
This is so, like, seriously,
Number
this is
4,
so
Sherlock.
scary. Like,
Benedict Cumberbatch is clearly a household name now, but his journey towards worldwide fame probably started here.
Is it like Sherlock
She's got an
Holmes?
umbrella in her left-hand pocket, but it's dry and unused, not just
Yes.
when strong wind.
It's
Too
like
strong to
Sherlock
use her
Holmes.
umbrella.
Because America is just as fascinated as
But it's like a Sherlock, modern Sherlock. Because he seems to be like in a lab, I think. But it's sort of like, I'm guessing, having to do with like Sherlock, but like a modern version.
Britain by Batch's modern take on Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, okay,
Which
yeah.
really says something
I
about
could tell.
Benedict's performance, because Sherlock closely contends with other American-made Arthur
Oh my-
Conan Doyle adaptations,
What-
including
what's-
CBS's similar
what was he
series
doing?
Elementary and the Robert Downey Jr.-led films.
This is my hard drive, and it only makes sense to put things in there that are useful.
There's just something special in the on-screen
yes.
chemistry
Of
between
course, it's your
Cumberbatch
brain.
and
It's the
Martin
most powerful
Freeman,
weapon.
spearheaded by Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss behind the scenes.
But it's the solar system.
Oh, that's like the sidekick.
matter?
Can't remember
Number
his
3,
name.
Black Mirror. This British anthology series, created by the super satirist Charlie Brooker of Screenwrite fame, is nothing short of captivating.
Yeah, it's
With
sort of
black
like
humor, dark cynicism, and a sci-fi edge,
Yeah.
Black Mirror is both a twisted reflection of our own current reality and
Yes.
a stark warning on where we're headed.
Yeah,
Could have
it's kind of scary.
forever. Who can even make sense of forever?
With
Scary,
each story
like-
being a standalone production and each installment uniquely
Terrifying.
written and superbly acted, it's no surprise that America has jumped on this particular bandwagon, especially considering the endless supply of well-known faces too.
Yeah,
You're supposed to say something like, engage or increase thrust.
no one is unknown.
So what's not to like? Number 2, Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who.
While Doctor Who's original run gave it a kind of cult following status, the 2005 revival gained a whole new audience.
Oh, okay. So it was the new one, sort of like a revival, and it was sort of like an old show that they remake. Yeah, I guess it was a remake. Yes, I'm sure. But yeah, very funny, very fun, very entertaining. It's sort of like fun, but also like makes you think, which is like the best kind of
The
show.
1996 TV movie was a direct attempt to find a footing in the United States, and yet it failed to do so. But New Who arrived just
New
as
Who.
Star Trek Enterprise went down in flames, leaving science fiction fans in the US ready for something different to scratch their tech and fancy
Yeah, it's
itch.
very different. It's true. It's a weird show.
With a slaughter.
It's like a
With
very
high
weird
production
show.
values, the writing talents of Russell T Davies, plus Christopher Eccleston, and then David Tennant taking the lead, Doctor Who became sci-fi supreme.
I look a bit different, but it's me.
Yeah,
It's the Doctor.
it's a weird show, but it's really funny, and it also
Number
like
1,
makes you think
Downton
about
Abbey.
things.
The toast of today's list is this incredibly popular period drama. Of course, America was going to become obsessed.
Again, like period dramas, I think they're very popular because I think we, again, as people, we kind of love everything having to do like vintage things, things that remind us, well, not remind us because I think few people were alive back in the day. You know, people that are alive now, I don't think they were alive back then. But it's sort of like we're always sort of like yearning for the past and for like, yes, like show me like the past societies, things that were, I think maybe it's because it's so different from our times, but I think we love that. We love old things.
I didn't run Downton for 30 years to see it go, lock, stock, and
And
barrel.
we
to a
love to
stranger
watch
from
fancy people.
God knows where.
It's filled with themes and things that US
Beautiful,
audiences love.
beautiful,
High
like,
production
landscapes.
values, a period
Yes.
setting, a sense of English
Love
aristocracy,
the outfits.
and a whiff of sophistication.
Very sophisticated, yeah.
plated for Jack.
You think I'm a dull boy anyway, don't you?
With its stately setting, interesting
All work and no
characters,
play
and
make Jack a dull
dramatic
boy.
storylines, Downton soon became a favourite for households across the rest of the world too, fueling posh British stereotypes for a brand new generation,
Posh stereotypes.
but bringing it all together in undoubted style. It's a quintessential classic. If only everyone could sit in and drink tea all day, eh?
Yeah,
Do you agree with
wouldn't
our
that be
picks?
the dream?
Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo UK and subscribe for more great content.
Yeah, I think it's I don't, there was like a bunch of these shows that I've never heard of. It was, I think, again, I think it could be described, I think probably most which is like probably a reflection of what's sort of like popular. Most of them, some of them were comedies, plain comedies. I think it was just probably like the Monty Python one, and that looked to be like sketch based, not just like comedy, like scripted comedy, which I think it speaks a lot to like people's taste. So in general, people, I don't think they like, or maybe again, I'm just like guessing and taking like wild guesses here, but I think people don't really enjoy like scripted comedies that much, which makes me surprised, because I would think, or maybe it's just that in the UK they're not that popular. So if you want to like watch a good like scripted comedy, you have to like go to American shows for it. Maybe they're not that popular in the UK. It's just sort of like sketches, like SNL, Monty Python. That seems to be the case. But most of them were sort of like dramas, which surprised me a little bit. Either sci-fi or dramas. But I think mostly, like, again, Doctor Who it is sort of like a comedy, but it's sci-fi, but it leans heavily towards the comedy. And even though, like, again, like in the case of like Doctor Who, it does make you think. Like, there's some episodes that are quite like heavy and sort of like deep and dark, and makes you like, makes you reflect on a lot of things, on life and on people, etc. But at the end of the day, it's a sci-fi show with heavy comedy undertones. And the Merlin one seems to be also maybe less leaning on the comedy and probably more leaning onto the fantasy and drama. And the others were just dramas. A lot of like detective and police dramas. The only one that's sort of like a comedy was the first one, Catastrophe. But again, they were also like saying it's not like a comedy. It's sort of like a comedy that's gonna make you laugh, but it's probably leaning more towards like dark comedy, or yeah, it's probably that's the case, sort of like a dramedy. Sort of like a drama, it's gonna make you laugh sometimes, but it's not the point. They can like write some jokes, but you're not gonna be like, this is hilarious. No. At the end of the day, it's sort of like leans heavily towards drama. So I think people are just like watching a lot of dramas or like period pieces, but again, period pieces by design, they're also like quite dramatic. It's not like a comedy period piece. I don't think there's plenty of them. I don't even think they exist. By like period dramas are like, they're gonna be like, it's a drama. It's not gonna be like a period comedy. Those aren't a thing. So that was the case of like Peaky Blinders and Downton Abbey. That were sort of like, well, Peaky Blinders seems to be like about the mob, or sort of I think it's some of the mob, or like gangs. And Luther and The Fall, they're also like detective dramas, police dramas. They're like trying to catch killers. It's very like heavy. It's very like dark. And then Downton Abbey, I think it's less dark, but it's a drama, right? It's all fictional, but well, all of them are fictional, but it leans heavy again into like the whole sort of like drama of it all, maybe more of a soap opera style thing, where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe like my favorite character has like, this is his character arc, like I can't believe he went through this, even though it's fictional, but it's so like dramatic in the whole like show itself. If these people were real, I think their lives would be like pretty dramatic. But that's probably the point, because if they had like pretty easy lives, I don't think you would have a show. It would be super boring. So of course there's gonna be like tons of things happening. But yeah, I'm surprised by that. But I think people just like really like they really love sci-fi. I think probably the whole thing is that at the end of the day, I think we just want to like escape. When you're like watching a film or you're watching a show, probably is that, you know, the feeling of you want to escape. You want to like turn your mind off to like another different fantasy, another reality. Even if it is like catching killers, but you know that you're probably not going to be. Hopefully, you're not going to be doing that in your real life. So it's okay. I can sort of like imagine how would it be like to escape a killer or like catch a killer. So it's fine. But also I think a lot of these shows are very they're very British, I think. So that, you know, it's kind of maybe you know, interesting that they also like were very popular in outside of the UK, because I think a lot of these shows are very like they're I can't explain it, but there's just like, so I think probably it's like the not the humor, but maybe like the writing and the whole sort of like the whole setting. It's very like on this, like it's like it's British, like it's so British that it's kind of funny in a way that it sort of translates that well to America and to like all over the world, because again it's so British that you would maybe like expect for just British audiences to like get this and to like this. So it's kind of like surprising in a good way that no, you know, I think people really do like the fact that it's all very British, but people like that, and people are willing to like give it a try, and maybe we know more about British culture as a result, sort of like absorbing it in a way, not like I'm gonna read more about the UK, but you're just gonna like absorb everything when you're like watching these shows, because again they're very British. You know, like for example Downton Abbey, like how much like British can you get? They're like in the aristocracy, and everyone's like they live in like this gigantic sort of like castles and palaces, and they're drinking tea all day. It's like very upper class. But if you want to go a little more like middle class, I think all of the other shows, not the sci-fi ones, but I think all the other ones are very like middle class UK, you know, like just like normal people living their normal lives, but obviously something happens. But again, yeah, it's surprisingly interesting, and surprisingly like pleasantly surprised that a lot of these shows, and all of them are so British, but they like fit well in audiences all over the world. So yeah, this was really really funny, and now I want to like watch a lot of these shows, because there's a bunch that I've never heard of, and they look really good. So now I want to watch them. So hopefully like you will watch them too. And that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.